from the other side of the fence, so to speak. Ken, please.
Great. Morning, thank you very much. First, thanks for inviting us. It's a bit of a long way to come from London to get here, but we look forward to it. Nice an excuse to kind of see helicopters and fireworks and the odd rugby match, but quite an interesting day. So listening to what I've just heard, I've learned a couple of new things, actually. They're catching up with us. So we want to move on and then explain who we are. We're an international design practice based in London. The nicest thing is I've been able to live and work in America. We've got a joint venture office in New York that's been existent for nearly 20 years. Friends in Milan that we have relationships with. Milan, London is kind of next door, but actually a different world away. And from a designer's perspective, it's where you get things made nicely and you have relationships with manufacturers, so therefore we can deliver product that's completely different. Sydney, I'd love to work here. So, that's the big question mark of who we need to work with and who do we need to partner with. So really my talk is really about creative collaboration and how we actually deliver an end result. So next, move the slides on again. Wrong way. Collectively, almost working relationship with Schrager and Stark is a kind of very dynamic, different way of working. They'd always employed architects to deliver projects as a kind of an understudy. They didn't get any headroom, didn't get any presence in what the process was. When they came to London, we met in New York. We helped them match them with the developer and with the project. The Smartens Lane Hotel was an office building. It could have been pulled down and redone. We converted it into a hotel. Sanderson was the same, listed building, which we had to get complicated planning permissions with. Somebody said, what's the difference of what Philippe does and what you do? I said, well, he does 69 sketches and we do 650 drawings. So that's the kind of difference, and we don't take the structure out. We say that if you do that, the building will fall down. So moving on almost a decade later, I met with Citizen M at a conference. Rob was showing me wonderful slides of what they wanted to do with the new concept. And I said, hang on a minute, we've got copyright issues here. That's St. Martin's Lane. This is what we've done with the lighting. What do we do about this? I said, well, actually, why don't we just work together and we can help you bring this brand to the UK. So Ratan Chadha and Michael Levy had spent 2 years developing the concept about who is their ideal customer, who's this mobile person that they wanted to engage with. And through that, they prototyped and worked out a kind of brand. We merged with them at that point and helped them do their first projects in the UK, which was Glasgow. As you can tell slightly from my accent, I'm Glaswegian. So we helped them with the planning process quite quickly. Moving on from that, Motel One is a German brand, which are ex-Accor executives from Germany who set up a new brand and have rolled out 44 hotels in three and a half, 4 years in Germany and Austria. They wanted to bring that brand to the UK because the UK is wherever he wants to get to. But the interesting thing for me is that the other two had very clear design concepts and very clear briefs as to what we wanted to achieve. Motel One was slightly different, so how we address that, I'll come on to later. Sorry, going the wrong way. Brand and how you work with that creative collaboration is very important. I trained at the Royal College. I was lucky enough to meet with lots of product designers, car designers, lots of other people. We worked with Liberty, who are established retail in the UK. They wanted to merge with and do a joint venture with Muji from Japan. We brought them to the UK, said what you've done in Japan works perfectly, but you have to filter or change the detail to make it work. You've got to make it understandable to the UK market, which we did. It's taken off and expanded now through Europe and the States. Marcel Wanders is not another sort of mini Philippe Stark, and he said, I want to design hotels. How do I get to design hotels? So we started with a bag shop. So he invented this Gulliver character, and I won't zoom in the photographs, but basically there's a difference between Dutch and German or Italian. Is that he said this is a 3D computerized model of a Gulliver, and the appendages on the man are the scale that we have them in Holland. And the Italian client said, well, in Italy we normally put fig leaves on those things, so it's hidden away. Ross, I've known all my career from the Royal College, Ross Lovegrove, as a product designer, and again we've collaborated with him to help him realize his projects in retail concepts, and he's also talking about some hotels at the moment. But it's very, very challenging in the sense that it has to be very organic, new structures, new materials that come through. Going back to Rob and the image on the left-hand side, you can see the Smartens Lane image, was their marketing brochure and their concept position. What they were trying to do was really, I don't know if I can reach it from here, but the little diagram here was really to position themselves. It was called One Star is Born, so it was a working title, it wasn't Citizen M. They didn't want to launch that into the marketplace. So what we were trying to say is the mobile customer is the person who then, affordable luxury, getting something at the right price. The budget was €100 per night, which seems minuscule, so where does all that design get paid for, and how do we actually deliver that? If we can run the video, please. I'll explain a lot of it, and I'll jump in as we go.
Fellow citizens, this is a story about a new kind of hotel. Its name is Citizen M. It's also a story about you and people like you. We're all part of a changing world. It's getting smaller, and the more we move around, the smaller it gets. Our evolving planet, connected by technology and smarter transportation, has created a new generation of traveler. These individuals are explorers, culture seekers, shoppers and professionals. They travel a lot, but travel wisely. They are independent and share a respect for the places they visit. You might be one of them. If so, congratulations. You're a mobile citizen of the world, and you're so important to us, we named our hotel after you. Mobile citizens share a common desire when they arrive in a new part of the world, to find a hotel that gives them what they want. A place where budget meets luxury. Not coincidentally, that's also the founding philosophy of Citizen M. Citizen M is a modern hotel built for smart, forward-thinking people. Yes, we thought that might include you. It features the latest technology. It's designed in a new way. It thinks in a new way. The best way to meet Citizen M is to walk through as if you were a guest. Grab your toothbrush and take a look. The Citizen M room. It has a wall-to-wall window, Vitra furniture, LCD flat screen, power rain shower, free movies on demand, free Wi-Fi, a bed as big as your dreams, though not as weird as your dreams. The Philips mood pad, all the room controls in one device. You can change your room lighting to any color you want, except tartan. Citizen M also has self-check-in, living rooms to work, rest, or meet, 24-hour food and beverages. Citizen M does not have, because Citizen M believes you shouldn't pay for bits of a hotel you don't need. Citizen M also has a few surprises. Everything you might expect from a luxury hotel, but with a twist. We think you will like Citizen M. Citizen M is a personality as well as a hotel. Because you, the people, want low-price luxury. Because you, the people, want a contemporary hotel. Citizen M exists. So to every mobile citizen of the world, Citizen M welcomes you all.
So behind all of that was really the idea of doing a 14 square meter room, which is tiny. It's based on a 2.5 meter square bed that's foldable. Jackie's smiling here because she's stayed in them quite a few times. I'll tell you about it later. And the whole idea was that the company invested in its own production plant, which I think is quite brave. And that is really Ratan Chadar's background as a retailer. He used to own Mackay Retail, which he sold to Liz Claiborne for several billions, but that was the funding behind it, but also invested in the Oberoi Group. And the idea of car production was the idea we're going to do lots of these. How can we repeat and control the quality? The problem is that recessions happen and things change. 2008, 2009, they was being produced in Rotterdam for the first two hotels in Amsterdam. That change happened and suddenly it was cheaper to make them in the UK. So they closed their factory and moved to the UK to do the production. And then all the UK product is now made out of two separate factories. But it reduces the construction time. Any urban hotel you're trying to do is about time, money on site. If you can keep all the stuff off site, that increases the return. So Amsterdam has done cast of slab on ground floor finished in 60 days, which is quite amazing. In central London, it's a lot more complicated, and it's the same thing of how your client doesn't really understand the regional differences in code or planning or all those sort of things. The planning process in the UK is so much more complicated than it is in Holland, so therefore the rollout program has been delayed. But the nice thing is that this client keeps going back and investing time and effort back into the process. The brief that they set was very clear. They spent their research doing it. The technology and ambition was very, very high, but they've improved it. Every hotel we've done, we've had an improvement and a change. So it's actually building on the brand. Glasgow, yeah, we didn't quite do the tartan, but the idea here was to try and get something as an office building, planning consent, change it to hotel. The lobby was on the first floor, ground floor retail. Retail failed, didn't happen. So what they've now done is folded back down and put a business centre in there. So you've now got Society M, which is for the business traveller who uses it. Took off so well that in Lavington Street, which just opened July last year, now has that on the first floor. So they flip things around in the living rooms, work in a different way. And I think those are added things to the brief that day one you don't see, but as you're trading and you're growing, that you add these things in that improves the customer experience. The one in Clerkenwell, which is very next door to my office almost, won't happen because, again, the landowner has an unrealistic value. 2008 we had a value, and then suddenly the world changed, so it won't happen. Whereas Tower Hill, again, the client bought out the developer and invested his own money in doing it. It's 400 bedrooms. This took 2.5 years in planning to get through, but it's a subsequent size. Expansion plans were saying, let's not do the rest of the UK. It's not working. We will keep doing London, but where it will work is Paris, New York, Asia. And they've actually managed to achieve and deliver 2 live projects in Manhattan. And there's the whole thing we said about how many pods could we stack one on top of each other. So there's different construction programs. And I think the New York ones will compete against Yotel and the Standard and all the other hotels in Manhattan. Paris is a rollout really of Amsterdam. It's a airport hotel. I think the winning area that's the improvement is the partnership and collaboration with Vitra on the ground floor front of house. Everybody knows as a designer, you have a limited budget for a budget hotel or a mid-price hotel for doing front of house. This relationship with Vitra, they manage it. It's their furniture. They come and change it. They actually use it as their showroom. So you're actually now having people selling furniture in a hotel lobby. And everybody kind of sits there and goes, "What, I can buy this?" And the ambassador that we have basically say, "Well, I can link you to the website. Yes, we can get that shipped to you in 3 weeks. Here's this, this, and this." And it's the same with the books. We have lots of books from Holland. Same issue. You see a nice art book that you want to take home, you can purchase it, or you can order it online. And I think those are things that have changed. When they opened Lavington Street, they didn't understand that the UK community liked to go and have a few beers after work. So suddenly the doors opened and they were full. So their small capacity bar had to almost be doubled initially. They were amazed at the revenue stream that was coming in, and the workspaces are all booked out, and they're actually used by the BBC for doing interviews on a regular basis. But I think this sums it up really. It's really where the client sees themselves against the competition. So it's kind of saying, why would you go and stay in Hilton? Why would you spend that money? This is a much more fun place to be working. It's not a long stay hotel, it's a short stay hotel. But it actually kind of questions and changes the things the whole way through. Moving on to Motel One, our challenge as architects for the client was completely different because their brand was so set on what they were doing in Germany, and they quite frankly didn't care what the outside of the building looked like. And I said to them, well, you can't bring that mentality to London because you won't get the site, you won't get the planning approval. This is in the City of London, who are very, very restrictive about the quality of the architecture, which architect works on the scheme, et cetera, et cetera. So we put forward a proposal about bulk and mass, and sat with the senior planner and said, this is not a budget hotel, this is a design hotel. Luckily, the planner had worked with me on Smartens Lane previously, so he said, interesting, Ken, so how do we make this different? Proposal was for the 6-story building at the front is to clad it in Korean. And actually, the senior planner presented this to the city planning committee and said, this is my kitchen worktop at home on the front of the building. And it lights up with LED lights behind it. So this is quite a challenge. It's taken us 2 years to get the DuPont warranty for doing the exterior cladding for the UK. It's been done in France, but actually nobody's cared about warranties, I don't think. And Kazakhstan was the same. I think they just threw it up and said, that'll be fine, don't worry, don't worry. So we're going through mock-ups at the moment with the LED lighting, and the tower behind it is then a integrated, unitized system in color glass. So it was the composition of the two things, the white box and the blue tower. And what's going to be interesting is that because we've got the color changing in, and this is something the City of London actually didn't pick up on, is we can change it any color we want. So we can actually switch the colors around on both the front and the back of the building. And I think that's, you know, if I was questioning your client's brief and how you're actually working together, this is additional to the Motel One brand. They don't really understand this yet. And it's just through the process we've gone. We've got them a building that's so much denser and bigger than what they could have got on the site in the first place. But it will enhance the brand and position them very, very well in London compared to some of the German product that's pretty run-of-the-mill and something slightly different. So future brands, and where's this going? This is a current project we're working on at the moment, which is for a very world-famous football club in London who get on the news on a regular basis because they're fans or absolute thugs. It's called Millwall, which is in an area in London which is pretty horrible. But there's a huge redevelopment proposal which is extending urban central London out along a railway line. So it's 5 minutes by train back into London Bridge, and we're working with Whitbread at looking at doing a hub hotel, which is the new brand that they're inventing coming forward. And this is the idea of them, rather than doing a kind of, again, a brown box with little rooms in it, was actually trying to get it to fit into an urban context in a different way at a master planning level. So in summary, it's really kind of going back to the collaborative, creative collaboration and how you bring all of this together is enhancing the brand, working with the team that you've got. And I think a designer's role is really to pull those people around. I have an analogy, which is basically it's Ken's dining table. If you come and have starter, main course, and dessert, then that's fine. But if you run out of conversation during starter, you're off and we'll replace you with somebody else. So that's the process that you have to go through to keep these projects alive and actually make them viable. And I think you're dead right about money and cost. That all comes into it. And it will drive these projects forward. So thank you.
I think we've got, what, 5 minutes? Chief, another 5 minutes? We're mic'd up, so I think we can probably do this from here. I'll just throw a couple of questions to the panellists to sort of paraphrase what they've been talking about today, and maybe your rationale, Ken, just to ask you, you've talked about the launch of M, the global brands. The question is, do brands transcend cultural barriers? And are hotel brands global? I mean, we know products are global. How do you make them global? Is there a magic to that?
Well, I think what you saw from the other two presentations is that if you're looking at different countries, like the Soho Sofitel, you've actually tagged them, but actually it's completely different from an urban situation. Whereas Indigo is an urban brand that could go anywhere. Stuff that we've been working at is definitely transferable. I mean, it's, you know, a lot of it's inspired by Japanese pod hotels or small rooms, product design, and it's really kind of thing. If you can get 12 square meter rooms, 14 square meter rooms, and people are very happy to stay in that, then the numbers work very, very quickly.
So do you see, will M be coming here to Australia?
I'd love it to do that.
Opportunity?
That'd be very nice.
There's people in the room here who are looking at modular hotels, and it's been talked about a long time in companies in Australia, and there are some, and M's obviously it's a modular unit.
Yeah, it's interesting because the kind of precept was that it would always have to be modular. And we've actually now looked at doing traditional construction as well, or retrofitting it. So it's the concept, it's really what you're delivering to the customer. It's not necessarily the process. I think the pod construction actually increased the value too much sometimes, and that's why we changed production from one country to another country. And I think looking forward is that if you're looking at real estate in Sydney or Melbourne, Brisbane, whatever, you can build or insert this product into a car park, put it on top of a roof. You can do, you know, there's lots of things. I mean, London is a great hotbed because land is so expensive, and Manhattan is the same. So you have to almost double think it. How do we get this to work?
And how do you then put the design goes into that as a package? So it can be designed in London, it can be designed in Germany, packaged up, shipped in, and there it is. But
yep.
That's the whole product. It actually
yeah, I mean, the stuff if Citizen rolls out in Asia, the production will be done in China. Or
well, I'll throw one to Phil.